Hey fellow content creators, this is your boy Kagiso M with the brand new series called The Chronicles of the C70. And in this series, couple of series that I'm going to do, we're just going to be talking about the challenges, the things that I learned working with the C70s, the experience, and all the updates that Canon is coming with, or any other updates that third parties are coming with. So that is that. So this is the first series, and in this series I'm going to talk about the first thing, why I moved from Fujifilm Xt4 to the C70. I mean, a lot of my content is about Fujifilm. Even now I'm actually shooting with an Xt3, so that will be the first thing. The second thing is I'm going to just talk around the kit that I bought, and also why actually the C70 and not the other cameras like the FX3, which is a lot affordable than the C70. Then I'm going to just do like a body tour around the C70 and what you're getting, the codecs and all of that. So let's start from the beginning. So why did I leave the Fujifilm Xt4 and Xt3? Anyway, I still have one Xt3 here, but I have sold the Xt3 and the Xt4 and some of the nice lenses that I actually liked, and I just kept the 50-140, the 16-55mm, and the 35 f1.4. So those are the only lenses that I have right now from Fujifilm. The main reason that made me move is actually the autofocus. Don't get me wrong, the autofocus on the Xt4 and Xt3 is usable. I have done some gimbal work with it, I have shot a couple of things with it, but there is just this little thing that I actually hope that with firmware updates they will be able to implement it on video. You can actually get it on photo mode on the Xt4 and Xt3, which is the touch tracking, or I think on Sony they call it the live tracking, something like that. So basically you just tap your talent or your subject, and as you move the camera is supposed to be tracking that subject. So the tracking that you get on the Xt4 is normally when the person is moving from back to front or front to back, but if the person is actually not moving straight, it does lose focus. So with the touch tracking is so much better. So that's one reason that made me, actually that is the main reason that made me move. And the secondary reason is the overheating issue when you're doing 4K. I have shot a wedding, couple of weddings actually with Xt3 and Xt4, and it never overheated on me. I was shooting high definition 50p, and I would get the signal that the camera is about to overheat. Actually it will just get amber, it has never got red. So I would continue shooting and I never had an issue. But I know if you go to 4K, after a certain time you're going to have an issue with overheating, especially if you're shooting a long format event. So that is secondary, but it was never really a big issue. Even though some of the projects that we're going to do will actually need 4K, but for now I don't think they are that long that I was going to have an issue. In fact, I'll probably be using the Xt3 also. So those are the two reasons, with one being the major one and the other being sort of a minor one. I could work around it. So I had to move to a camera that will be able to overcome that and actually more. So moving away from that, why I left the Xt4, now let's get into the kit that I actually bought, which is the camera body. It came with the 50mm, this is the RF lens, 50mm 1.8. This is the cheaper version, not the f1.2. Then it came with this little nice speed booster. So this is the speed booster, the 0.71 times, I think. What it does, it actually makes, remember this camera is a crop sensor, so with this and an EF lens, you're going to get a wider field of view, almost similar to a full frame field of view. And also on there you're going to gain one stop of light. So this speed booster is RF to EF, so the camera is RF mount, then you are able to put the EF lens. I wish I could say this was my lens. It's a beautiful 50mm f1.2 lens, so I'm able to use it here with the speed booster. You can also use the normal Canon adapter from the RF to the EF lens. It will also work, but you're not going to get a wider field of view like the speed booster does. And also the combo came with it's actually inside the camera, probably, let me see, I think it should be the one. It's not. So it came with a 128 V90 card, so it's an SD card. This camera uses 2 SD cards, so it was part of the bundle. Actually I do have the box here. So this is the 50mm and the SanDisk 128 V90 card. So if you're going to shoot full 4K DCI at the highest rate on this camera, Canon recommend that you use a V90 card. I have tested with a V60 card and it sort of worked. So I'm not sure if shooting a long format, it will keep up, but the V60 that I had actually did keep up. So moving away from the kit, this next section is why did I actually choose the C70. The C70 was never part of the camera that I'm going to buy, and simply was because of the cost. It was out of range. Even after selling a couple of my gear, the range was too much. So I was looking at Sony, the FX3. It was a lot appealing. I've used Sony before, even though there were a couple of things I didn't like, but I thought the FX3 or the A7S3. So the A7S3 is a hybrid. The FX3 is the small cinema format. They are very similar, the A7S3 and the FX3. So those were the two main cameras that I was going to go to. The other camera that I liked is the Blackmagic 6K Pro. It has a lot of things that I liked, but there were two things that were bothering me about that camera, especially if it's going to be my main camera. The first one was the lack of tracking focus. It sort of have some sort of autofocus, but it doesn't do tracking. The second one was with that you only get bigger files. You don't get smaller files like you get on here. It shoots raw. I don't think it shoots anything else, but I might be wrong. The next topic is stuff that you cannot see that the C70 comes with. So the major thing that I'm going to start with is that Canon is going to release a firmware that's going to upgrade the Canon C70 with a raw writing straight into the SD card. It's a 12-bit depth, but it's Canon RAW Lite. They cannot put the standard one because this camera only uses the SD card, and they cannot put something that cannot be written onto the SD card. The SD cards are actually not as fast as your CF Express cards or your SSD cards. So if they are to put something that is faster, probably it has to be written maybe via the USB-C or something like that, or HDMI into your Atomos Ninja recording monitors. So for now, it's going to be Canon RAW Lite. Anyway, what you get in this camera is the DGO crop sensor. That's what you get into this, and this is the same as on the C300 Mark III. I think it's Mark III. So it's a beautiful sensor. And then what you're getting from that is your 4220 at 4K DCI, and it's a 10-bit, so you're getting a C-Log 3 and a C-Log 2 into this. As per Canon, the C-Log 2, you're actually getting 16 stops of dynamic range, and with some tests that other guys have done, they're actually saying some of that dynamic range is actually a lot more onto your shadows or your blacks. So, but anyway, Canon say it's 16-bit, 16 stops of dynamic range on C-Log 2. You also, with the speed booster, this speed booster is actually made for this camera exclusively for now, and it's going to help you to gain an extra stop of light if you're using EF lenses. Actually, it's for EF lenses anyway, and you're going to also get one stop of light, so that's quite nice. So that is out. You're going to get internally your ND filters, and the nice thing I like about this is that as much as it's big, it's bigger than I thought, but as much as it's big, you get buttons all over the show, and 13 of these buttons are actually customizable. You might think 13 is a lot, but I will tell you that the more buttons you get, the better, and that's one thing that the FX3 didn't have. It has just a few, probably half of the 13 customizable buttons. That's actually quite nice. So you get an articulating screen. I don't know, it's never my favorite, the articulating screen, but you can use it in let's say you shooting yourself, you're able to see yourself, but I don't really like it. But behind this articulating screen, and it's also a touch screen with a lot of menu functions that you can actually just touch on the screen. You're also getting behind the screen your audio module, and you get 4 channels, which 2 is the left and right, and you get other 2 channels as a sort of a safe mechanism, so you are able to set those other 2 lower than your let's say your left and right, your main audio, and you have a safe channel in case the other 2 peaks. So that's quite nice, and you get buttons for that. You get buttons for that to be able to adjust your audio. So you also, on the audio module, is the line in, you get your mic in, you also get your 48 volt phantom power. So with the audio, I'm going to just finish it with, you get your mini XLRs. So it's 2 XLRs which are mini. You will probably have to get an adapter into the full XLR, and you also get your normal small jack. Like I do have the what do you call it, the wireless Go 2, which you can actually pop in here. Then you can monitor via your headsets. So audio, I think we are done with audio. Then the next thing that it actually came with, you do get a handle, which you can actually even put a monitor on it. It's a nice plastic, so same type plastic that this camera is made with. It's a nice handle, and also you're getting the strap with it. I removed the strap. You're also getting sort of a hand grip type of strap on here. I've also removed them. When you're using the gimbal, those things don't really work. At the back here is a battery, and the battery doesn't have, the battery compartment doesn't have a cover, and the reason is this is a BP-A30. It's a small battery that comes with this, and the next battery, which is the BP-A60, actually protrudes here, so it will be something like this. So hence there is no cover here. This is a decent sized battery. You do get close to 3 hours depending on what you're shooting and how you're shooting it. I think someone has said they get more than 3 hours, so I think it depends on what you're shooting and how you're shooting. What I have seen with the mirrorless type cameras if I do a start stop kind of shooting, the batteries go faster. And it also depends if you are busy actively clicking on the camera, so that also uses power. The next thing is that you have your, it says air intake here, so you have an active fan on this camera. It's a cinema camera, so it shouldn't overheat. Really, it shouldn't overheat. Yeah, and at the bottom, this is where, as per normal, you're just going to get your base plate threads there. And the issue with this that most people have, you do have 3 threads, but then they sort of lying horizontal instead of vertical if I'm holding it like this. If it's vertical, you're going to sort of have a second thread that's going to stop your base plate from rotating. It sort of just does have a pilot hole, if I may call it pilot hole, where you can sort of stop the recording. But if it was a thread and you are able to put those 2 screws, it was going to be so much better. I have seen some on the internet. There's actually some base plate where you can put it here and you're going to lock it with these 2 so that it doesn't rotate, and it offers you 2 vertical in this position, 2 vertical position where you can thread your base plate and it will not move. So the other thing that you can do is to get a cage that you are able to that has sort of those 2 threaded blades at the bottom, through 2 threaded holes at the bottom, so that your camera is stable, it doesn't rotate. So guys, let me see if there is anything that I have left on here. Maybe it will be, you have your another base plate threaded port here, and this is for your if you're going to, it's probably going to be here like this, if you're going to be shooting on a portrait mode for your social media videos. So this is how the first episode went, and there's a couple of things that I have seen that are going to come up on the next series. And yeah, I think I am done. There's nothing that I am leaving here. And yeah, so I have taken this camera to the field and I'm going to give you my first video experience with this, how it went, what did I find out, and what to do going forward. And also the next video will also include the things you have to do when you first get this camera, which are very critical. So guys, please subscribe to my channel, like this video if it has helped you. Yeah, maybe you're looking at buying a camera like this and you wanted to know about it. So I'm out of here. This is Kagiso M, and this is the Chronicles of the C70.